Hi everybody, Tex-Mex here. Thanks for joining me for another video. Today we're going to do a part 1 to 2 parts because I'm going to start out with rim fires, but we're doing single action versus double action revolvers. And in this case, it's an SP101 and a Ruger single 6 convertible. If you clicked on this video because you don't know much about guns, you just want to know the difference between double and single action, well, let me take care of that real quick. A double action revolver typically has a cylinder that will pop out. I say that is typical. Usually just pops out to the side where you load your rounds in, you close the cylinder in, and then the pistol can be fired in 2 methods. One is you can cock the hammer back and fire it like that, or you can simply pull the trigger and that in itself will cock the hammer back so you can fire the firearm. Now I'm not going to dry fire this because it's a 22. I want to say SP101s are okay to dry fire, but I'm just not going to do it. I think it's bad form with rim fires. So, but that is the difference. On a single action, you have to cock back the hammer and fire it. On a double action, you can just pull the hammer back. And on a double action revolver, typically, although there are exceptions to everything, you have the ability to do both versus a single action. And the single action will typically have a loading gate. So there are exceptions to everything, but usually the cylinder does not pop out of a single action. I mean, at least not when loading. You can take it out for cleaning. You open the loading gate, you load in your rounds one at a time, close it, and then to fire it, you have to manually cock the hammer back every time you want to fire it. Pulling the trigger will do absolutely nothing. So for anyone who clicked on the video just to figure that out, there you go. You've got your answer. Now for the rest of you who I know much more about firearms, I just wanted to see if there really was much of a difference in how I shoot these 2 pistols. Let's just say I've read on different forums that they claim that double actions will be usually more accurate because of the trigger mechanism versus a single action and how they actuate the hammer, I guess. I'm not sure. I'm not an engineer. I just figured I'd try these out. They have similar length barrels. I want to say both. This one should be 4.2 inches. That one I think is about the same. I think it's 4.6. I don't remember. So right now on the screen on either side, I'll put the information for the SP101 and the information for this particular single 6, because this is a shorter barreled version that are a little harder to find. That's why I jumped all over this one when I did find it. Now, as you can see, there are long shadows. This is the evening, so I'm taping my intro now, but I'm gonna actually do the shooting in the morning because the sun is almost right behind my targets and it's just gonna be impossible to film. And I just won't have enough time during the twilight minutes to try to get this shooting done. Because what I'm going to do is here at about 16 yards, I'm going to put some targets out there. I think they're either 6-inch or 8-inch circles. I'm going to try a few different types of ammo out of each. To be fair, this one I've already done a video with, but I've only shot 22 Magnum out of it. So I don't know what 22 long rifle it likes. This one I have shot, and I want to say it liked the Norma Tac-22 and I think maybe the CCI Standard Velocity. I wrote it down, so I'm going to definitely shoot those just to see how they compare. Like I said, barrel lengths are about the same. They both have similar sights, except this one does have the fiber optic front sight. That one is just a black sight that I ended up painting red with a little bit of nail polish. Well, more of an orange, a bright orange, which really helps me contrast the sight, especially if I'm shooting at a black target. Now, another big difference here is obviously they make single 10s, and I think they also made the single 9 that was just in 22 Magnum. This SP101 has an 8-shot cylinder. I think the first ones they came out with were a 6-shot, but this one has an 8-shot cylinder. But since this is an 8-shot and that's a 6-shot, I'll probably only put 6 rounds in each, just so it's a fair comparison. And like I said, we'll try a few different ammunitions out and see how they group. So enough of my yapping. Let's go ahead and jump ahead anywhere between 12 and 14 hours. Oh, and just to show off my holsters here real quick, this is one Camp Curry leather. I want to say I found these guys on Etsy. They make really nice stuff at great prices, really, for what you're getting. It's good quality leather. Like I said, I got my initials on there. As I said in a different video, those stand for my name. So, and this is just one. I think this is a Hunter. Oh no, it's Triple K, which, I mean, the leather isn't quite as good, but I like the color. It matched the grips really nice, and it does have the Ruger emblem on there. And what I like about this, it's kind of like the Hunter style holsters where you don't have to take your belt off to get this thing on your waist. So anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and set up my targets. We're gonna jump ahead about 14 hours till the morning and put some 22s down range and see which one does better. Now, one more thing quickly before we start shooting. I thought I had brought some snap caps with me and I did not. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna test both of these later on when I'm back at my home with snap caps and try them both in single action and see what their trigger pull is. Since I will have done that at this point, I'm gonna put it here on the screen. And just for reference, I'll put up right now what the double action pull weight was on the SP101 as well. Well, here we are. It's the next morning. We're going to start out with some Standard Velocity CCI. Now, one other thing I didn't mention yesterday is that the single 6 convertible, since it also shoots 22 Magnum, it has a bore size of .224. I'm not sure if that applies to the SP101. It's a 22 caliber, it's a 22 long rifle caliber only firearm. So I'm not sure if it's at the what should be .222 or .218. And the single 6 has the larger bore size to accommodate the 22 Magnum. So there are a lot of people that think that single 6 doesn't shoot the 22 long rifle as well as the 22 Magnum. That may be an issue. I'm actually going to probably do a video on that as well. Today we're just going to test the single 6 versus the SP101. So we got the single action versus double. I'm going to start with the single action, and since it's so cold this morning, I've already put a few rounds through both of these pistols just to warm them up a little bit, although I think they've cooled off already because it is pretty cold out here. And I'm going to shoot the single 6 at the top left target. There we go, that's 6. And since I forgot to mention, we're at 16 yards, slightly over 16 yards, but we'll just say 16 yards. And now let's try the SP101. We'll shoot at the left bottom target. And since I have to cock the single action single 6, I'm going to be shooting the SP101 in single action as well. And that's 6 rounds. Let's go ahead and load up the next ammunition. This time we're going to use the Norma USA. This is the 40 grain Tac-22. And I wanted to use this Norma because I'd done a video a while back with the SP101 and it liked that ammunition. So I wanted to use ammunition I knew at least one of them liked. I don't know what 22 long rifle the single 6 likes just because I haven't shot this one in 22 much. I'd been focusing using it with 22 Magnum. But once again, we'll start with the single 6 and we'll shoot at the center top target. Ooh, God, doesn't like this one. Okay, Now we'll move on to the SP101 at the bottom center target. Am I hitting the target? Okie doke. Let's move on to the next ammunition. And now to try a faster ammunition, we're going to do the CCI Mini-Mags. These are the 40 grain Mini-Mags. It's just a copper plated round nose. And when I looked, it looked like the SP101 hit a lot of those shots way to the right with the Norma Tac. I really thought it liked it last time, but maybe I shot it at a different distance, or maybe it's just the temperature's effect on the firearm. But luckily I have my target camera up there so we can differentiate which rounds are hitting where. So now, once again, single 6, top right target. That looked low. And that is 6. And we'll move on to the SP101. Bottom right target. I think it's also hitting way to the right. And that's 6. Let's go take a look at our target. And here we have our target, and as usual, I think the first conclusion we can make is that 22s are very finicky about the ammunition they like. Whether the single action is better than the double action or vice versa, this test is certainly not going to figure that out. I think the difference between a single and double action is so minute that any differences would be almost non-existent when you take the quality of the particular firearm, the weight of the trigger, and other aspects of the function of that particular firearm. I'm sure there are double action 22s that can beat certain single action 22s, and I'm sure there are certain single action 22s that can beat certain double action 22s. It really is going to come down to every specific firearm and its components. But as far as how these two did, the SP101 versus the single 6, let's take a look here. And we'll start with the CCI. It was the first one we shot. And if you see here, the single 6, like the CCI, it actually looks like I'm almost sighted in for this particular loading. It's the first time I've shot, well, I don't want to say it's the first time I've shot 22 long rifle out of it, but it's the first time I really tried to gauge where 22 long rifle was hitting out of this particular single 6. As I said, I'd really been focusing on 22 Magnum with it. And oh boy, it liked it. It did a tight little group with the 22 Standard Velocity CCI. Whereas the single 6, a much larger group. As you can see here, you got, well, I mean, this is going to be 4-inch group probably versus what would most likely be, this is probably under 2 inches. Yeah, I mean, quite the difference there. And then when we move on to the Norma, here, let me adjust my camera just a little bit. There we go. When it comes to the Norma, and once again, I don't care where exactly these rounds are hitting, because different types of 22 long rifle are going to have very different impact points, even with the same point of aim. So with the Norma, the single 6 once again was somewhat centering them, a much wider group compared to the Standard Velocity CCI. The SP101, however, it looks like it was shooting them way to the right. I'm pretty sure this was one of the impact points, but then the rest hit over here. I'm pretty sure it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. A horrible group. I mean, they sort of tightened up here in this little area, but then we have these two flyers. I mean, that's making it probably closer to a 5-inch group, maybe even a 6-inch group. So yeah, not great, not great. But once again, it's that ammo. The SP101 doesn't like the Norma. I thought it did. I swear I have, and you may be able to find it on my channel. I probably have another video where I'm shooting the SP101, and I thought it did shoot this one relatively well. But maybe it is the cold weather this morning. I have no idea, but it certainly did not like it today. Now we move on to the final loading we shot, which was the CCI Mini-Mag 40 grain. And this is a faster velocity loading because it's saying 1235 feet per second versus the standard velocity that is 1070 feet per second, and the Tac-22, which is claiming a velocity of 1100 feet per second. I don't know what the length of barrels they tested these out of to get those velocities, but you can tell one's going to be much faster than the others. The Mini-Mag shot lower out of the single 6, but it still shot relatively well. Not an amazing group, but at least they all kind of stayed together here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I assume that's them right there. So not bad, not terrible, not great. And then the SP101 seemed to really like it. I think this is 5 rounds in this tiny little circle here, which is under 1 inch, and then 1 flyer up here. And you can never discount the flyers and 22s. I mean, it just happens. That's why if you really want very accurate 22 long rifle ammunition, you have to spend money for it and get the very high quality target ammunition made by a few different companies. But in this circumstance, the single 6 was outclassed by the SP101 versus the CCI, where it was the complete opposite. So once again, I think it's going to come down to the quality of the ammunition, and which particular ammunition your firearm likes. So in some circumstances, the SP101 is going to beat the Ruger single 6, and in other circumstances, the single 6 is going to outclass the SP101. But anyway, it was a fun video. It gave me the excuse to come out here and shoot 22s, which is something I very much enjoy doing. And I hope we all learned a little bit something. Once again, the big thing we're learning is that 22s are terribly finicky. And if you've got a 22 pistol that you particularly like, whether it be a double action, you want to have the ability to just pull the trigger and fire around versus having to cock it, or if you want to look more like a cowboy and you're going to get a single action so you can put it on your gun belt and look really cool, buy a bunch of different types of 22, put them through them, test them at 15 yards or so, and see which one it likes. And you will find one that hits very accurately, or should I say that hits more precisely than others. And then you're going to want to sight it in for that particular ammunition, because obviously, as you can see here, these ammunitions all hit in different spots. They're different velocities, but they're all the same weight. They're all 40 grain loadings. So as always, thanks for watching. I hope y'all are staying safe out there, and I will see you in the next video.